just one question though. Who is Judge Fleischer?
My name is David Fleischer. I am the current judge of Harris County Criminal Court at Law Number 5. I am your father. I am your brother. I'm your mother. I'm your father. I want to help everyone, and I'm going to do it to the utmost of my ability. And I don't care what I see, what you're doing, who you are. If something is going on, I'm going to try to help out in whatever nature we can. And so that's who I am. Me, I'm a father to everyone. I like to think I am, Just a little blurb on the screen trying to make a difference, essentially, is just, the bottom line. I doing what I can to help as many people as I can in the short time that hopefully longer that I'm going to be here, because who knows how long I'll be here. So we try to reach out and touch the mind of every single person that we can. And, I think you do that by being on the same level, right? So speaking to them in a language that everyone can understand, whether it's someone from Mexico, whether it's someone from Australia, whether it's someone from here, but connecting with them one-on-one, in spite of them having an attorney, in spite of them having DAs around here. So literally meeting eye to eye, having a meeting of the minds, being on the same wavelength, and transmitting to them that, hey man, you're here, there's a problem, own it, let's get moving forward on how to best fix it. That's it. It is one of 16 criminal courts in Harris County. We handle the misdemeanors here in Harris County, where if it's punishable by up to 6 months or a year in jail, you will come to us. And we handle everything from DWIs, deadly conduct, criminal trespass, assault on a family member, garden variety assaults. We handle quite a variety of cases. And I practiced for about 17, 18 years criminal defense before I became a judge. And the reason I did it was to change things, because things were in a way where they weren't very favorable for defendants. And I wanted to do something about it. And it has really hit me in a lot of ways, I took a big pay cut doing this. So it's not about the money, right? Because I was making, double as defense lawyer as I am now making a judge. So we took, at the very minimum, conservatively a 50% pay cut.
I love that. And that partially answers my next question, which is, why do you think you've gained such popularity on YouTube? Because you are
Really, because there's just not many people doing it. That's it. I mean, it's just, we don't have any special thing. There's no special sauce. There's no special thing here. It's just, there aren't many that do it. And I think that's, I think, a lot of people like it. A lot of people like to see what happens in courts. A lot of people like to see what happens with defendants who get charged with criminal cases. I think a lot of people find it interesting, and it's a great teaching tool, because I think families show it to loved ones, those loved ones show it to others, and then it balloons, it evolves, and eventually you might show it to the right person at the right time who is considering doing something they shouldn't, and then they see the consequence and like, oh man, that's probably not a good idea to do what I was thinking about doing.
I like that. All right. And speaking of educating people,
we're just doing what we would do every day.
See, and I had the impression, I think a lot of people have the impression, and I don't anymore, that attorneys and judges just want to send people away. But that's not at all what you want to do.
No. It's farthest from that. I mean, and I routinely tell people, hey, we're not here to to just punish and lock you up. Our main concern are two. Are you a danger to our public? Number one. Number two, are you going to continue? Learn from them. If you're here, learn from it. Let's move on. Now, if you show me that you're a dangerous person, I'm going to take the right response. If you're watching earlier today, geez, just, one of the biggest problems I have for me is the delay. I hate the delay because people, instead of getting the treatment they should, something gets delayed and they invariably end up doing something they shouldn't, when treatment would have hopefully fixed that, I think that a lot of people get angry at us because we let too many people go. I've heard that time and again, and it's not about letting go. It's not letting go. No, it's making sure someone gets the message, and that's it.
Okay. What do you think is the largest contributing factor to people having legal trouble? It could be more than one.
It is. It's twofold. One, lack of education. Lack of education is big. There's three things. Number one, lack of education. Number two, lack of jobs. And number three, parents. So people who have way too much time on their hands become self-destructive. And I say this day in and I say it day out. And that's either an adult or it's a child. Children, unfortunately, a lot of kids don't have parents that supervise them properly. Don't push them. Hey, man, get into school. You need to do something with your life. I saw someone earlier today dropped out at the 7th grade. What on earth do you expect with your life if you drop out at the 7th grade? Do you expect? There's one Jeff Bezos in a lifetime. There's one Microsoft. Bill Gates. There's one Bill Gates. There's one dude that dropped out of Harvard. What's his name again? Facebook.
Oh my gosh, why can't I think of him either?
Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg.
There's one, two, maybe three in a lifetime. But other than that, we, the meager peons on this earth, right? You gotta set yourself up. So the biggest problem is, number one, the lack of education, right? You drop out 9th grade, drop out 10th grade, 11th grade. You've got no skill. You've got no one pushing you to work. So what are you going to do? Nothing. You're nothing, right? Same thing with the people. Some people just don't like to work. But the problem is you still need money. How are you going to do it? How are you going to get it? So I think those are the three.
Okay. Now, this is something that's a little bit confusing. You were talking about time. Things takes a lot of time. What is the process for criminal court? So once someone gets arrested, the steps from arrest to sentencing, because this is another thing where people think, oh, you get arrested, then you go to court one time and you get your sentence and you're done. But that's not at all how it goes.
No. So let's say Jen Hardy gets arrested for DWI. So what happens is you go out on a Saturday night, you're meeting friends, and you have just, you make a mistake. You have just a couple more than you should. You end up, you get pulled over, you get arrested, you go to the Joint Processing Center, which is the JPC. That's in downtown Houston. You get in line in front of everybody else. Now it's a Saturday night, it's a Friday night, so there may be hundreds of people that are getting arrested. Remember, we're in a city of 3-4 million people, so there's hundreds of people getting arrested. At some point, you have to get in front of a magistrate, so we try to get you in front of a magistrate within 24 hours. And at that point, you will either get a general order bond or you'll be released on a PR bond, depending on how fast they get you in front of a magistrate. So after you get that PR bond remember, this is misdemeanor case, not felony. Felony cases are different. after you get that general order bond, typically you are ordered to appear in front of a judge in 7 days. In that 7 days, a lot of people get lawyers. Some people don't, and they just come to court. So at that first appearance, that's called the arraignment. That's the part where you come to court, you're apprised of the charges, you enter in a plea, and then, generally what we do is find out, hey, what's your working status? What's your lawyer status? Are you able to hire a lawyer or not? And then let's say you don't hire a lawyer. We set you off to give you time to hire a lawyer. If we give you a court-appointed lawyer, at that point, you are expected to meet with the lawyer and start working your case. Depending on what type of case it is, it may take time to get evidence. Some cases, evidence is there within 30 days or 60 days. Sometimes they may take longer. Let's say you pick up a theft case where there is an alleged victim where you stole a PlayStation. Well, the DAs will have to talk to that person. It may take long. Sometimes they're in hiding. So it may take months to get that. And so at some point, we put the stop. We normally do it at around 180 days. At 180 days, 6 months, you either must accept a plea bargain or we're going to set your case for trial. Now, there are extraordinary circumstances that may push that a little bit longer, but by and large, that's the normal process. And in between those settings, we waive your appearance so you don't have to mindlessly come to court waiting for evidence, because a lot of people in the old days, they'd come to court, sit in court, waiting for the lawyer to reset the case, knowing full well that no evidence would get there. There was nothing to do, just basically reset the case to wait for more evidence to come. So,
Wow. Okay. And a plea bargain is only for people who are guilty.
No.
No.
Plea bargains are extended in every case. Every
Really?
case there's a plea bargain. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's whether the lawyer and the client want to accept it. Do they have other evidence to show that would warrant a dismissal? So almost every case that's disposed of is disposed of by a plea bargain of some sort. I mean, I think statistically they say, of all the criminal cases, 5% go to trial.
Wow.
Give or take.
Okay.
Yeah, by and large, I mean, over 90% of the cases are settled through plea bargain agreements. Now, it may not be in a plea bargain that you like, but it is what it is, right? A lot of things are taken into consideration for plea bargains: criminal history, age, what does the victim want? Like in an assault case, right? The DAs a lot of times will take into account what a victim or an alleged victim would like. Are they out for blood? Like let's say you have an intox manslaughter, like someone is dead. What does the family want? Does the family want them to do a ton of prison time? Was there some kind of mitigating factor? So,
Okay. Well, that's really
plea
interesting.
bargains in all cases. It's whether they want to accept it or not.
Okay. If you could write and pass just on your own any law, what would you like to see pass? Sorry, that's kind of out of left field.
I don't know about necessarily a law, but I think what would be really cool is, what if they embedded steering wheels with like a scram monitor? You know how we put scrams on people's ankles, right?
Right.
To determine whether they consume alcohol. Why not have that in a steering wheel? So a car, if it senses, right? Because interlocks, people blow into it. They may have someone else blow into it, because it takes your picture every time you blow. So people can fool it by, I have it here, you blow into it, and then it starts the car. Well, if you're going to drive the car, there's only one way, right? So you put your hands on the car. That'd be really cool. I don't know about necessarily law, but
But that's good. I like that.
I've never been one to write policy. Those are like there's reps, like state reps, state senators, and those, they deal with a lot of policy, writing new laws. How do you change this and that? Me, I like the practicality approach. I like, I like more hands-on, getting like, It's a good question because I've never really thought about it because I'm not one in it's into policy as much.
Okay, so I'll change my second question a little bit about that and say if there was a policy, a court policy or procedure that you could change to make it easier for you or for the defendants or whatever, is there something that you would do about that?
I wish I had more resources. I wish I wish I had resources to help people get jobs because I think one of the major things that we have here is the lack of people to be able to get jobs. And I wish I had a staff or some way, if I have someone coming in, doesn't have a job, wants to work, I can say, okay, look, you know what? Um, you have an interest in welding? Okay, here here's my team that can help you set up a job to be able to become a welder, or if you already know how to weld, this is a group here that we can have you go work with so you can start making money. Because I think a productive person is a law abiding person because if they're working and they're making money and they make good money, they're less likely to go out and do something they shouldn't. And so I wish I just had more resources as far as being able to get jobs and dealing with mental issues because that's another big one that we have. I don't have enough resources to help with, I'll give you an example now. You know, if I want someone to be evaluated for competency, it takes at a minimum 30 days. 30 days. That's insane. But
Yeah.
we just don't have enough staff. And then not only does it take 30 days just to get the evaluation done, but then it takes another couple weeks just to get the report back. So meanwhile, people sit in custody. Do they get better? No, because they're sitting in jail. But we just don't have the resources. And unfortunately, because of the nature of the business that we're in, I don't think that uh, I don't know how much people in Austin want to give us more money to handle this, but if you did, perhaps we could tackle the problem in such a manner that it would make things. Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
Nope,
Okay, sorry.
that's okay.
Um,
It's life.
if I had more resources, I think that we could do better. I think we're doing okay, but we could be doing more. And I think a lot of it is keeping people busy. And it's the same with children. If you keep kids busy with extracurricular sports, with school, then they're less likely to get in trouble outside of school. So,
Yeah. And then they have pride in something. If you're an adult sitting around all day doing nothing.
God, I mean, you just, we have people that come in and they literally, I had one guy who's like mid 30s, never a job in his life. I'm like, what? I mean, what do you do? I mean, don't you like to buy things? Don't you like nice things? So, I mean, and I guess it's just me. I've always liked to work. I like to work hard. And that's something else that I try to impress on the people that come with us. Hey, man, get your act together. Work hard. There are great results if you do the work. But no one's going to give you anything while you're sitting on your tuchus, man.
Yeah, I agree.
So what
Absolutely.
we're trying to inspire to really be be a leader. Go out there. Go do something. And especially for the women, man. I just, you know, just men are dogs, man. They're dogs. Don't wait on a man to give you something. Go get it yourself. Get educated. Be something. That's what I
That's
teach my,
yeah,
you know,
great advice.
men
Because even
work
if
on
you
the man.
did, you marry a great person and he takes care of you, what if you have to prepare for the what
What
if?
if?
You have to. So, yeah,
God, I
hands
mean, I wish I could tell you just the stories that we have, but I mean, I can't, but
no, yeah,
just, just you never know when they're going to leave.
yeah,
I mean, we get
no,
bigger, we get older, we lose hair, we get fatter, we don't age well. They might trade you in. What happens if they do that?
Mm-hmm. And
Stuck
that
there.
happens so often. It does.
Yeah.
So,
So that's
see,
why
so
especially for the younger women, I'm trying to prepare them. Hey, man, come on, move it. Let's get it. Come on.
yeah. And I told my children if they are either in college or they're paying me rent. That's it. And it's low rent, $200 a month. It's not a lot, but it's something. And you know what? They all went to college. They all moved out. They all did their thing. And they all thought I was a horrible mother to tell them that. But they're all my adult children are self-sufficient. And I think if more parents just, it can be a low barrier, but just something to motivate them to not sit on the couch all day. You can't let your kids do that. It's not teaching them good, healthy things.
No, absolutely. So, and I employ that same technique here at home, and that's what I've told everybody since day one. What you see, what I do at work, is what you see at home. There's no change, and I'm going to hold all our people in court to the same standard I would hold my own kids.
Yeah. Which is healthy because a lot of them don't have parents. So they need a judge to be a parent.
I
So,
see it all too often, and it's really a shame how parents some just don't push their kids at all. And yeah, as they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So, hey, we're going to take it upon ourselves to try to help you as much as we can.
I love that. What's the most surprising thing about being a judge that you didn't expect when you started?
All the outside work that we would have to do as far as campaigning and stuff, I never knew how much it would actually be, and it's a real kick. There's so much work that goes behind the scenes to even become a judge. At least here in Harris County. I mean, it's tough. It's not an easy. Um, and then not only do for me, not only did I take a big pay cut to become a judge to do all this, but I get embroiled and first in a lawsuit with bail reform, right? And then not only do I go from one lawsuit with bail reform, then I get sued again by another, opponent claiming that the election was rigged or this or that. And so, I mean, I went from one lawsuit to another lawsuit, and then not only do I have to raise funds for me to be reelected, but now I have to now raise funds to defend myself in this next lawsuit. So it's been a trying couple of years. I mean, I don't know if you knew this, but so we had when we first got elected, there was a lawsuit for bail reform going on. We are on board with bail reform. We agree with it. So that was settled pretty rapidly, and we tried to work all the kinks here and there, and still do, so to speak. And then after that last election, when was it? In 22, right? 22, 24, yeah, in 22, because of the trickle down national politics as far as election challenges, a lot of us got challenged here in Harris County. I'd say we're like, what, 22, 25 of us got challenged.
Oh,
So
wow.
we end up having to hire a lawyer and defended this lawsuit for, God, close to a year, And so I think there may be one still at it. So that was one of the things that I really didn't expect to happen. I mean, yeah. Thankfully, everything turned out
Yeah.
well, right? But it was an unexpected challenge.
Well, and that's interesting because I never really thought about judges getting sued until this year when I've heard about it a couple times. And I don't know,
Me
for some
neither.
reason.
Me neither. Right. And then you're expected to really, what do we make? We don't make that much as it is, right? And then you got to, lawsuits aren't cheap,
Right.
Who's going to pay for
Yeah,
it?
that's a lot.
So go on another, running campaign to try to scramble and hey,
So is
But
there any kind of insurance for judges, like, to cover things like that?
there is, yeah. But it's malpractice insurance, just like any
Oh,
lawyer or doctor, but not for this case. This is, because we were sued in our individual capacity. So therefore, we had to get our own representation. We were expected to hire our own lawyers, right? And you can't just have, you need a good lawyer. Thankfully, my lawyer is great. But um, that was a real kick in the ding ding, so to speak. But
yeah,
luckily it ended well, and we're still here doing what we're doing. It's been a great ride so far. I hope that we can continue to do it. I think that we're doing well, and I hope that the public is happy with us, and everyone's happy with us. And I try to be nice to everybody. Lawyers, DAs, officers, whoever it is that comes. It doesn't matter. To, people who are charged. So yeah, we'll see.
okay. What's been, and I know there's a lot that you can't share, and if you can't answer the question, that's okay. What's
Sure.
been the most memorable moment in your courtroom that you could talk about?
I would say for me, one of the best ones is we had this gentleman that was charged. I don't even remember what it was. And he had never once, ever, and we're talking a laundry list of charges, never once appeared. And we went round and round and round with him, round and round. And one of our great PD public defenders was working with him. And he had a dog and issues with the dog because of one thing or other. And, you know, I remember he had gotten a new case and he showed up in court. I nearly lost it. I was just like, I couldn't believe that he had actually appeared in court, because we're talking dozens of times where he never once. And then he started to show up. And I literally, I mean, I almost got off the bench to go hug. I mean, I can't, right? Can't. I didn't. But I mean, I was just so happy that he would finally come, because I think that he started realizing, hey, he's really wants to help. He's not here to just throw us away, throw away the key and just no. We want to help you get set up in life, jobs, housing, however it may be, Social Security. So that was a great thing. Um, when I see people come back in a great way, that's it for me. That's the great part for me. When I see someone become a success or they do well, they send me an email. Hey man, I got a job. I'm doing this. It's going great. That for me, that's that's
Okay.
spectacular.
Yeah, and I feel like people feel like they can connect with you. I don't know
But
if it's part of it's the lack of the robe, or you just have a different way that you seem more open, I think. And it's nice to see. And it's nice to hear that they're messaging you like that.
I get a lot of messages, and I can't answer everyone. I can't answer. I try to answer those that I can, because we can't give legal advice, and I get a lot of questions about legal advice, and I just can't, because we're not allowed to. Um, but it's nice to speak to others and see how well they're doing, and I appreciate it. And you know, I don't know if I wear my heart on my sleeve, but if you do well, I want you to know, and I want to be there to congratulate you. And I love success stories, and that's that's the goal with being a judge, is to keep getting these success stories and getting people to be a success. That's what keeps me motivated, is to get people to become successful. You know,
I love that. All right. And to wrap it up, the final question: what piece of advice, you can't give people court advice, but would you, life advice, 1 to 3 things that you would tell people just to help them in life.
And this is what I say this to everyone that comes. If you put your heart and soul into it, you can achieve anything. I don't care who you are. I don't care how you grew up, where you grow up. At some point, your decisions are your own. I get it that you had a bad childhood. I get it that you didn't have a father. I understand you don't have a mother. You didn't have a house. You don't have a Ferrari. But if you put your heart and soul into it, you can achieve anything. And I give the example to all of my friends, or to the people that come into court, of my friend who started off working at a Chick-fil-A. You know, he now runs one of the most successful ones here, and he's making 400 a year. But you start somewhere, and if you kick ass and you care and you just do well, I mean, the sky's the limit. Really. It's just great. That's what's so great about this country. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. This is the absolute land of opportunity. And if you take it by the horns, even if you don't have money, if you don't have it, if you do a little searching, it's there for you. And I'm always happy to help too. However,
That's fantastic. All right. And okay, now I got to ask one more thing. How do you balance? Because you're a really dedicated family man, which I think is so incredible, but you're also dedicated to work. How do you balance it all?
it's tough. Luckily, I have a wife that helps me a lot. But it is tough. It's now what? It's 3 o'clock. I haven't eaten anything since, well, at all. I've had just a cup of coffee because always on the run. Um,
All right, y'all. I am so excited to have him back, the one and only Judge David Fleischer. And my first question for you is going to be, who is David Fleischer?
I am your father. I am your brother. I'm your mother. I'm your father. I want to help everyone, and I'm going to do it to the utmost of my ability. And I um, don't care what I see, what you're doing, who you are. If something is going on, I'm going to try to help out in whatever nature we can. And so that's who I am. Me, I'm a father to everyone. I'd like to think I am. I'd like to say, right now I just found out one of our loyal viewers by the name of Citizen Z, who I really have come to appreciate and like. He is. I just learned a couple minutes ago that his wife recently passed away, and that's why we've not seen him for a while. Citizen, I'm so sorry. I would wish I could give you a virtual hug. Here it is. It's because I've not seen him for a while, and I just learned about it. I going to do everything in my power to help. And if you're falling down, if you're not doing something, we'll try to give you all resources we can. And that's who I am. Who knows how long I'm going to be here, but for as long as I can, I'm going to try to do as much as I can. And that's me.
I love that. And I think, that's great for a judge because unfortunately, as you know, there's so many people that haven't had parenting. Do you think that there are more people that aren't being parented now, or do we just know about it now because of this global social media and this kind of thing?
I think it's probably always been the same. You know, I don't know. I mean, and then again, if someone comes up with a statistic, who the hell knows, man? Statistics have been manipulated in any way, right? Who knows? The bottom line is, I see so many young kids, they just don't have the structure. They don't have the parental units involved, or if they do, they don't care. They don't push them to strive to be the best. I had a kid. Well, I don't want to talk about a specific case, but I talk to a lot of people, and they're trying to get jobs, and then the jobs that they're trying to get are just they can do better, right? So that's what we want to do is like, hey, man, I understand that you want to get a job, and I appreciate it, but why? Why settle for a $9 job an hour? Go for the gusto at $20 an hour. Here, let me give you where you can go to try to get it done. And if you can't get it done there, come see me. We'll find another way, That's what we do. And that's the idea, you know. So at least with us, I just try to, you know, you can't be people's friends. You know, it's like my dad used to tell me, you know, my dad used to tell me, you know, um, son, I love you, but I'm not your friend. I'm your father, right? If I try to be your friend, it's not, I can't, because I got to show you how things are done and I got to be able to discipline you. And a friend doesn't discipline another friend. That's what a father does. And so that's why, while I would love to be everybody's friend here and there, especially in the court, I can't. And so it's like transmorphed into kind of like a perennial father figure. I don't know if I answered your question, but
You did, yeah, that did. And and another thing, something I said to my kids when they were younger is one of my daughters said, "Well, you're not making me happy," and I said, "Well, it's not my job to make you happy." And
yeah,
that made her so upset. But I said, "My job is to make you and turn you into a successful adult, whatever successful means to you, not to me. But that's my job." What do you think about that?
it's comical. I get a lot of people now that will come up to us and go, "Well, that's inconvenient." I'm like, "Okay, George, am I here to make your life convenient?" Oh, no, I don't care. You know, my number one aim is public safety, and it's an inconvenience to you. Hey, you came here. I
Right.
didn't find you. And
And
but nevertheless, you know, I understand it's inconvenient, but at the same time, we have a public safety to be concerned about, and that's what we're going to do at all cost.
right.
So
So you're not making them it's inconvenient on purpose. That just happens to be some of the things are inconvenient that they have to
it's
do.
the way that we try to determine best to address public safety, right? There are certain guidelines, certain rules that we have to follow with certain types of cases, you know, like with DWIs and interlocks and stuff like of this nature, you know. That's just when you pick up a certain case, there's a certain thing that you're going to have to do, you know. And I get it's intrusive, I get it's expensive, I get it's cumbersome, but hey, that's that's the consequence. And we relay, and we're constantly trying to teach people, you know, think before you act, think before you speak, because you got to always consider consequence. And if you don't, this is what happens.
And it's so much better than jail. Like that's what I don't understand. If I was given a list of things to do and it meant I didn't have to go to jail or prison, I would be so thankful. I mean, I wouldn't do the things anyway. I feel like that would land me there, but I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't be arguing with people about inconvenience. I would just be dancing all my way home. But
By and large, you know, by and large, I think that most people are self-correcting, you know, once they commit an offense. And if they've gone to jail, you know, it's self-correcting in the sense where they now understand what it means to violate the law, what the consequence is, and they're able to think in the future, oh, if I do this, what's going to happen? You know what? We're going out tonight. We better get a designated driver. You know, we're going to go out tonight. All right, well, let's get an Uber, you know, and so by and large, most people after that one initial contact, they're one and done. A lot of people, they don't. They may learn slower, but it's okay. I mean, we'll get there, and hopefully one day you'll learn before something catastrophic happens and you just can't dig yourself out of the hole. And it's unfortunate, but it happens. Um, but by and large, I think most people get it. Have you ever been to jail before?
yes,
It's awful. It's awful.
awful. I went to
It's
jail because
awful.
I tinted my windows and I didn't bring the fix it thing to court. So I was arrested for tinted windows, which is
Really?
ridiculous. And in California, where there's earthquakes and you're 5 floors underground, and I'm thinking I'm just gonna die in an earthquake. Yeah, but that was yeah, I did that for a few hours, and my mom telling the police officer she can't get me because she had been drinking. So I sat there for a very long time and decided never would I do anything worse than tinting my windows.
Did you have any clocks in the jails when you no
No,
windows?
they took everything. They take, your belts and your everything and all the stuff, and you just left it. It is the worst. And we ended up taking a homeschool group with us to the jail and had them shut the door just for about 1 minute so they could see what it felt like. And, none of those kids ever did anything that would land them in jail. I think it's an incredible experience so that you see what it's like. Because, yeah.
It is an incredible experience. And I wish that we could, take high school kids over to show them what it is, what it's like, so they get an actual, understanding of what it means. And perhaps that would really help. I don't know, but it's an awful place. If I don't know who's going to end up watching this, but if you've never been to jail, it's cramped. It smells god awful. There's no windows. You have no concept of time. There's no clocks. So you're basically sitting in a room with like sardines overpacked, and it smells it's not a fun place.
It is not where you want to go. No. And anything that you can do to stay out of it, which would be don't commit the crimes, just don't. Yeah, no, no. So yeah, I'm very fortunate that my one unfortunate incarceration was really ludicrously silly. But yeah,
It's such an experience. I've been there just because we get to go through all the rigmarole, right? And I remember going once, and in one corner you have someone who's urinating, and another corner you have someone who's just they're getting sick. On another corner you may have someone defecating. I mean, and you're all in this one place. It's such a sobering experience that you would think and you would hope that your one-time visit, it's enough to just really, but
yeah, but
yeah.
yeah, I don't no, just no. So
Yeah.
speaking of getting out of jail, PR bonds. We talked PR bonds last time. Lots of questions about PR bonds. People want to know what they are and why the heck half the people are thrilled you're doing it, and less than half are angry you're doing it. But a lot of people don't know what they are. So
Okay, so yeah, personal PR bonds they're called personal recognizance bonds. It's a promise to appear. It's the idea that for people who are nonviolent, usually first offenders, or perhaps even more so, sometimes not first offenders, you give them a PR bond and tell them, hey, you got to come back to court. By and large, most people respond well to it statistically. And because we've run the numbers, and you know how I feel about statistics, right? I'm not for it, but because we also have to see how it works. By and large, it works. And the idea is that for these low-level offenses, if you get arrested for like a suspended license case or a criminal trespass, you're given a PR bond so that you can get out and fight the case. Believe it or not, most people don't live paycheck to paycheck, do not have the resources to pony up, $2,500 or the 10% thereof to get out of jail. Because you got to remember, when you pony up 10%, a lot of times you may also have to do the collateral as well. So the idea is, and the theory behind it is, that we don't want people to plead guilty just to get out of jail, because it's going to affect you in many, many ways. You may lose house, job, loved one, apartment, dog, or whatnot by sitting in jail, when instead the idea is we get you out of here, you promise to come back, and you take care of your case that way, so you don't lose your job, you don't lose your house, your economic situation. And there are mechanisms in place for those that refuse to show up. If a person doesn't show up when they're supposed to, a warrant issues, and then there are consequences. That will they repeat and get another PR bond? It's on a case-by-case basis. I don't know, but by and large, before, what was happening is you would have a lot of people pleading guilty when they're not guilty. We don't want that. It's bad public policy. And so that's the aim, to prevent what we're trying to prevent.
so
I get it. A lot of people don't like it, but not everybody's rich like you, fellow viewer. Not everybody lives like you. Understand.
Yeah, I don't think some people understand that to some people, a couple $100 is eating or not eating for their family, and people just don't understand that that's how that is. So explain how would pleading guilty get them out faster? Because you were saying we want to avoid them pleading
Well, I
guilty and
mean,
get out faster.
for these low-level offenses, what happens is, like, let's say you get you get busted for driving on a suspended license. A lot of times, sorry, a lot of times a DA, or I don't know, a lot of times, I don't want to speak about anything in general, but you know, um, a lot of people will basically take what's called time served. They'll plead guilty to 1 day or 2 days in jail. They get credit for the time that they've done and they walk out of jail. But anytime you plead guilty, not usually it ends up as a conviction on your record. And there are other consequences that can arise from that. So we don't want people who are not guilty to plead guilty. If you're guilty, okay. But if you're not guilty, don't plead guilty. That's why we have trials, or that's why we have other diversionary programs available as well. But that's the name of the game, is we don't want you to plead guilty if you're not guilty. Don't.
Right. No, because yeah, you might not be able to get a job, or if you want to do something with a license later, or some of the things. I mean, you can, yeah, there's a lot that goes behind that. So let's talk about you for a little bit and your career. What made you decide to be a judge? Did you always want to be a judge, or
No, no, this isn't for me. It's not a lifelong ambition. It was never, I not something that I ever wanted. I'm not the type of person that when I was 4 years old knew that they were going to become a lawyer. It was never like that for me. I remember one time, and told this to a friend not too long ago, that I remember I was maybe like 18, 19 years old, and I bought a phone from Circuit City. I don't know if you remember what Circuit City was. Right.
yeah,
Yeah. So I bought a phone, and back then there were no cell phones, there were no beepers, just had landline phones. And so I bought this really cool phone. I ended up paying was like $100 or like $90, which was expensive for me at the time. And it was a flip phone, and it was just so cool. I mean, it was awesome. And I get home, I used it for a week, and it broke. So I ended up taking it back, and they refused to refund it. I was so upset. I said, you know what? I'm putting a hex on you, number one. Number two, I'm going to law school so that this never happens again. And that was when I really thought, you know what? Just I hate getting messed with. I hate getting screwed. I don't like being the little man. I don't like it. So I fast forward, I go to college, and I go to I'm a chef, basically, a culinary school. And um that didn't work out too well because, trying to please people on a constant basis really didn't work out very well for me. So um, I decided basically at that point to end up going to law school. And it's just that I love to cook, but in a setting, it's a lot tougher than it seems. And so I ended up just going to law school, and um, I practiced for about 15 years, and I represented a gentleman who was undocumented and ended up getting a deal where his case should have been dismissed, and the judge refused to sign the dismissal. And I was so upset at that point that just because of who he was and his circumstances, I said, you know what? I can't let this stand anymore. And it was at that point I decided to become a judge, because in my mind, I saw the unfair practice of what was happening to defendants at the time. And so I um, went on a mission to do something about it. And so here we are.
that's, that's a really incredible story. I like that. What's the most surprising skill you've learned as a judge?
You say skill,
The most surprising skill you've picked up as being a judge.
patience, patience. Because back before when, when I was younger, I wasn't one that had much patience. But as you go through life and you develop experience and you develop knowledge and you develop, you know, and or I guess you obtain obligations and kids and wife and work, and you try to balance all that, it teaches you patience, right? And then now becoming a judge, holy moly, it's not an easy gig if you don't have patience, then this is not the gig for you because it's really difficult, because day in, day out, you see a lot of the same thing and you hear a lot of the same excuses. And if you're not one to really sit down, part the sea and delve into a situation, but most importantly, have patience, because if you don't, you might miss the actual goal because you're so upset and you're ready to just throw the book at someone and just throw them in jail, or do something else that's drastic. You might really miss what the issue is. And instead of, yeah, you may get you may end up putting them in jail, but instead of actually figuring out what the problem is, you may be doing more harm than good. Whereas if you figure out, take time, delve into their lives or whoever's life to figure out what the underlying issue is, that may save them from even having to go to jail in the first place. By and large, for me, the most valuable trait that I've learned, I think, is patience. It's having patience, developing patience, and keeping patience.
But that leads right into my next question, which is, what's one thing that you would go back and tell your younger self if you could?
Well, if I could change something,
If you could tell yourself as a young person, if you could tell yourself, say, as a teenager, oh, I'm sorry, let me turn my sound up. If you could tell your teenage self something, what would it be?
study harder. That's what I would do. I like to learn, and I wish I could have done more in school, Um, it's great to have fun, and it's and to go out, have a great time. But I think that the more knowledge you gain, the better you are in life. And I wish I would have studied more. And um, while I like what I'm doing, I think it would have been rewarding to become a doctor, at least for me.
Yeah,
Um,
that was
don't get me wrong, I love what I'm doing now, and I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Um, but I also find that would be very rewarding as well. I want to change the world, and I want to make it safer, and I want to make it better, and as much as I can, That's
yeah,
it.
I do know that. That's something I would love to do too. So along that lines, a lot of people have asked in the comments of your videos if you are planning on running for office at a particular time, which this is the perfect day to ask you. This is election day. You have your sticker. I
Hmm.
don't have mine on, but I also voted. We do not have to talk
Wonderful.
politics at all, but is that something that you would consider running for some sort of office?
Well, I mean, I'm
I mean,
running
besides
for
judge,
office.
I mean, you are, yeah, but
Oh,
something along the lines of legislative, president, things like that.
I mean, to really become successful, you got to have a name, you know. Um, that's why, I Colin Allred, right, he's running now. But a lot of Texas is rural, right? So if you're running for a statewide office, you really have to have a big name to be able to do it, because you have to reach not only one, like for me, in my side, which party I run for, but to be able to win in a statewide race, you really have to reach the other side as well to get people who would also vote. To be able to do that, you have to have name recognition. I don't. So no, I'm not running for, I mean, I'm content where I am. I like doing what I'm doing. And um I want to reach out more, you know. I want to continue to do what I'm doing. I think that what's really cool with us is we have a great reach. Today I was talking to one of my mods on ours, Allie and Linus, and they were telling me, God, we had people from Israel. I think we maybe even had a person from Russia. We had a person from Australia, UK, South America. I mean, the reach is amazing. We've had people from China, Japan. It's amazing. Brazil, just you name it, all over the United States. And when we get our message across, it's great because people see it. The education is out there. They're learning, and it's great. It's amazing, and I'd like to continue to do it for as long as I can. So what? I don't want to change that. You know, I'd like to continue to do it for as long as I can, and I don't know how long we'll be doing this. But I'd like to. I think we're in a good place. We've got a good message. We're spreading it out, and I'd like to continue to do it. So no, I'm not doing anything else. And then my wife would kill me anyways.
Okay.
And the thing is that, can you imagine when you run for Congress, you're up for reelection every 2 years. Every 2 years you're up for reelection. That means you're always out campaigning. Literally. I love my wife. I love my kids, and I like watching them grow up. I want to play Fortnite with my kid, man. I can't do that if I'm constantly on the road campaigning. Hell no. No.
I love
I
that.
love Fortnite, and I love playing Fortnite with my kid. Just so great.
Yeah.
So no,
All right. So to those of you watching, you know what? You can have a career and be a great parent, both. You can. You just got to have the dedication.
meet me in Fortnite. Meet me in Fortnite.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So you talked about the your mods and the chat and everything, which is a hot point right now on YouTube, because there's another judge, won't mention the name, who's actually been going through their own trial because they've been taken off a couple of cases because of YouTube, because of filming through YouTube and everything. What is your take on that? Because there are two sides, and obviously, as someone who interviews people from that, I've watched court. I think it's important for us to be able to see it. But what do you think about the people that say it's not fair for the defendants?
Not fair in what sense? That they're being
Well, I think
broadcast?
a lot of what the lawyers have stated in this other case, and what some people say online, is that they're in this position that can be kind of embarrassing, right? And so now not only is it being witnessed by anyone who could go into the courtroom, but it's being witnessed by anyone who can turn on YouTube. And I think the broader issue that I saw in this other case isn't just that say you're putting the cases out so people can see, and that's great. It's some of the other YouTubers that are taking it and then calling defendants names and doing things like that.
That's unfortunate. And I don't agree with that. And I wish that it would stop. I mean, there's really there's no need to put people down. Okay. What we're doing, at least what I do it merely for educational purposes, for transparency. And I think a lot of people appreciate that. When you put people down, you got to consider who you're hurting. It's not cool. There's no need to do it. Really. I mean, we're all here, everyone has a job. There's just, I mean, think about if someone did it to you, how would you feel? There's just no need, right? And if you continue to do it, you may jeopardize someone's stream, right? All we do it really is just for educational purposes and for you guys to get to see what we do, get to see what goes on in a court on a daily basis. Not many people see it. I mean, imagine the amount of people overseas that get to look and see what we're doing that have never, ever seen what goes on in a courtroom. I had someone, I think it was yesterday, from Ireland, or no, they were from Germany, saying, wow, how amazing your criminal justice system is different from ours. It's a complete difference. They never would have been able to do that had we not shown what we're doing. So it's not there to embarrass, harass, annoy people who are in front of us. It's merely for educational, for transparency purposes. And it's unfortunate that some use clicks and use language in a salacious way to get clicks. It's because essentially, but as far as with that concern, what you were earlier talking about, I don't know. I we don't want to hurt more. We don't want to hurt more. That's not the goal. We don't want to punish, annoy, embarrass, and I hope that the other streamers understand that and realize that if you take it too far, you're going to do more damage than good, because if you end up taking someone's stream down, you're going to lose as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So just everyone needs to be cognizant of that, be nice. It's not hard. There are other ways to get clicks. Just beware. Just take care. That's it.
Because I don't know if I told you. I mean, I started watching court because we were adopting someone out of the foster system, and I wanted to make sure that he was our son, and I wanted him to stay with us. And I learned, because foster parents don't have a lot of rights, and I wanted to watch, and I watched so much court, and I learned it. We lost him, not because of court, and it was horrifying. But at least I felt like I had the
Oh, I'm so
knowledge.
sorry.
Thank you. It was foster care in Florida is privatized.
What?
Should not be privatized. Should not be making money off of children. It's a thing. It's a soap.
How are you? What? I don't understand what you mean. How's it privatized?
It's not run by the state. It's run by for-profit companies who do a lot of damage to children and families. I'll just leave it there. It was a nightmare. And this poor child.
I still don't understand. I mean, I don't understand how the state's not involved.
It's a whole thing. Yeah.
Wow.
It's awful. And so, I mean, I see the beauty in being able to see court, and if I was going to go to, right. I love it. All right. So today we have Judge Fleischer from Texas, a favorite of the LawTube community, and I'm so excited to have you on today. So for those who have not met you yet, can you introduce yourself and tell a little bit about how you got where you are?
My name is David Fleischer. I am the current judge of Harris County Criminal Court at Law Number 5. It is one of 16 criminal courts in Harris County. We handle the misdemeanors here in Harris County, where if it's punishable by up to 6 months or a year in jail, you will come to us. And we handle everything from DWIs, deadly conduct, criminal trespass, assault on a family member, garden variety assaults. We handle quite a variety of cases. And I practiced for about 17, 18 years criminal defense before I became a judge. And the reason I did it was to change things, because things were in a way where they weren't very favorable for defendants. And I wanted to do something about it. And it has really hit me in a lot of ways. I took a big pay cut doing this. So it's not about the money, right? Because I was making, double as defense lawyer as I am now making a judge. So we took, at the very minimum, conservatively a 50% pay cut.
Right. I love it. All right. So today we have the infamous Judge Fleischer from Texas, a favorite of the LawTube community, and I'm so excited to have you on today. So for those who have not met you yet, can you introduce yourself and tell a little bit about how you got where you are?
My name is David Fleischer. I am the current judge of Harris County Criminal Court at Law Number 5. It is one of 16 criminal courts in Harris County. We handle the misdemeanors here in Harris County, where if it's punishable by up to 6 months or a year in jail, you will come to us. And we handle everything from DWIs, deadly conduct, criminal trespass, assault on a family member, garden variety assaults. We handle quite a variety of cases. And I practiced for about 17, 18 years criminal defense before I became a judge. And The reason I did it was to change things because things were in a way where they weren't very favorable for defendants. And I wanted to do something about it. And it has really hit me in a lot of ways, you know. Um, I took a big pay cut doing this. So it's not about the money, right? Because I was making, double as defense lawyer as I am now making a judge. So we took, at the very minimum, conservatively a 50% pay cut, becoming a judge. But the idea that we did it is to change things, and we've done it. We bail reform, and I don't know if you're familiar with bail reform. We when we got elected, we were thrust into a lawsuit where we got sued because the way that it used to be, and I don't know if the law tube community knows this, but prior to 2018, if you were arrested for an offense, there were no PR bonds. They were virtually non-existent. If you got arrested, you were given a bond, and you were put into jail. Virtually no one got PR bonds. It took for a lady to file a lawsuit. She was charged with driving on a suspended license. Her bond, because she had I want to say she had one prior, and as a result, her bond was set at it was either 2,500 or 5,000. She couldn't pay the bond, so essentially she was stuck in jail. She lost her bond, lost her job, lost her apartment. So she filed a lawsuit saying, "Hey, look, it's not fair, right? I'm in jail. I can't post a bond. Why do I have to sit here in jail? I'm not a violent person. I'm going to show up. Give me a PR bond." Back in the day, it didn't happen. So we agreed to the lawsuit, agreed to the fact that, yes, you're in a system that's unfair. So we've essentially changed the things. So, when the law tube community and all the people out there saying everybody gets PR bonds, in a manner of speaking, yes and no. I think that with my brethren, the most important idea is public safety, right?
Right.
If you show me that you're not a danger, you're going to come back. We're going to let you out. But if you're going to be a knucklehead, then no. Really.
Yeah.
And you can watch. If you watch this, you see. A lot of people get out, but a lot of people get put in jail because of that.
Well, and that's interesting. That is one of the questions I was going to ask you because you did an article in Cron online. There was a thing that where you were saying one of your goals was to rectify the bail bond system. So I
Yeah,
was going to ask you about that. So
we did. Yeah, we had.
great that you
It's
did.
changed. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's always just a work in progress, right? Rome wasn't built in a day, neither was this. Imagine you have a system that's been in place for 100 years, right? So you just don't upend and change it. And there are a lot of people that were upset, a lot of people that are upset, a lot of people that still want to change it and want to bring it back to the way that it was because they're of the opinion that bail reform doesn't work. I don't agree with that, but it is what it is. And
So in that same article, since we're going there, you were also talking about, let's see, we should focus on why the person is on the docket in the first place. If we address these issues, then we can prevent people being on the docket, right? And so I'm
yeah,
wondering, about that, about helping people right before they get to court. Have you been
well,
able to?
that's a little bit difficult. Before they get to court, I'm not going to see them, right? It's
Right.
when they get to court,
Okay.
finding out why are you here, what's the problem, why are you angry? We get so many assault cases; it's ridiculous. Why are you angry? What's going on? Why are you upset? Do you have a drug issue? Okay, let's fix it. Let's see how we're going to go from here. Um, so what we like to do is delve deeper into issues with people to see, hey, what can I do to make you better? I get so many kids that they haven't even graduated high school. God, we had a guy in there the other day who was mid-40s, can't read or write. So I think that all these impacts people, and so we one by one systematically try to help every person and tailor a kind of a system that will help them. Now, of course, you have people that just they don't care. They're not with it. They're gonna, young and they rule the world. And hey,
Now, in Bexar County, Texas, they have the Reflejo Court for first-time violent offender, that assault family members or whatever. Do you have anything like that in your county?
you mean like a domestic violence court?
Yeah. They set it up, and apparently they've only had a few people go through it, but their success rate is 27 out of 28. But they only take first-time offenders. So if you've done it more
Yeah,
than once,
we have um, different types of courts for different types of, like, we have a mental health court that will help with issues with mental health. We have let's see, we have a veterans court that helps those that are veterans that have issues. We also have courts that will help them. I think little by little we are creating more. We have DWI Sober Court, which is a big, huge hit, where when we have people that truly have issues with sobriety, they are put into a treatment program where they are actually monitored by a judge. It's kind of like a probation, but monitored by a judge to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and getting the treatment they're supposed to be getting. And it's more, we're not going to punish you when you mess up. That's not the idea. The idea is to figure out, why did you do it? How can we help you can we help you from here, so we don't just put you in jail and lock away the key? That's not the idea,
which is, I mean, it's great to hear, because I know a lot of people think that police and the whole judicial system just wants to lock everyone up, right? That's the goal.
It's farther from the truth that can be. That's now, remember, we're in misdemeanor court, right? Over there, and a lot of the courts that you see over there in Bexar County and in Jefferson, you see felony courts, you see, murders, and we here, we're dealing with low level offenses. Okay, so you're more likely to see more PR bonds with us than you are with the felony court, or with, the stuff that you see in Bexar and in Jefferson. And, those are very, very serious offenses. So you're not very likely to see as many PR bonds with them,
And that
Um,
makes total sense.
but
Okay.
we structure and have different courts to help those, like I'm saying, because that's the idea. Just, we don't want to lock you up just to lock you up. No, we want to figure out what the issue is.
Yeah, and I've heard you tell some defendants, you seem like a smart person. You need to go out and get some education. And I think it's really good for them to hear, because they might not have ever been told that by anyone. So it's nice to see.
I really, there are some kids out there, they just have no structure. Mom and dad are not there. They don't have any parental guidance. They don't have someone, saying, "Hey, man, you're messing up." And that's why I really, yeah, as much as they don't want to, I'm going to treat them like my child. I've got 4 great kids at home, and then I have another 2,500 in court. And I really, truly, I talk to them as my own kids. That's it. I want everyone to succeed, and they're going to, one way or the other. That's it.
I love that. And speaking of kids, let's talk about your family for a little bit, and just hear about you as a person, because I know everyone wants to know all the judge questions, but I feel like a lot of people have asked those questions. How did you meet your wife?
That's interesting. My grandfather fell down the stairs. He broke his hip. So he gets into the ICU, and my wife was the person that was taking care of him in the ICU. So I met her in the hospital as she was taking care of my grandfather. And, initially it wasn't even me. It was my mom. It's like every Jewish mother. Hey, over there, over there. So, of course, just butting into everything, getting it just like a typical Jewish mother, right? And kind of just hooked us up, and she's like an angel, just taking care of him. And that's how we met. But Me, I'm a chef by nature. That's what I like to do. I like to cook, right? That if you want to know anything about me, that's what I love to cook. I like to experiment and cook, and that's that is one of my passions. But cooking for a living and for a ton of people, it's no, it's not.
That's a stressful job.
It was awful.
Yeah. So
I
what's your
was.
favorite thing to cook?
I like paella a lot, and I like to experiment with Asian, a lot of Asian.
Interesting.
On Instagram, if you watch, if you're on Instagram, like for me at least, I get so much like different Asian recipes where I'm working with noodles, oyster sauce, soy sauce, and ramen, and making. I love to make dumplings. It's great. So that's so.
That sounds wonderful. So do you cook at home or are you busy at the
Oh
end of
yeah,
the
yeah,
day?
yeah, yeah. Every day.
Do you
Yeah,
really? That's
every
amazing.
day.
My
Every day.
husband cooks too, and I love it because I don't like cooking. I don't We have 7 children, and I did
Oh,
yeah, and it's our 26th year homeschooling. So I have done a lot of the home things, and we've reversed this year, and it's been really interesting.
7
7.
kids.
From
Man,
12
I thought
to
that was
35. Can you believe that? Yeah, we have children in 4 decades and 3 generations. So, yeah.
holy moly.
But
I give you a lot of credit. That's so much work, so much drama.
it
Oof.
is a lot of it is, but I saw some pictures because I did some research before we did this interview, and originally, with our original 4, older ones, it really reminded me, you with the 4, it's a beautiful time, and people try to tell you to enjoy it, and I know sometimes it's hard when you're not sleeping and whatever, but it is parenting adult. It's not my favorite being the parent of it. I mean, I love them, don't get me wrong, but I like knowing where they are and having them sleep in my own house every
There's nothing wrong with that.
you
And
know?
as you should, because, when the cat's away, the mice will play, right? And if you're not constantly on them, they might veer the wrong way. And that's the fear that I have. So I try to keep them close, and I want to be the party house. You know, I
That is
want
that's a
my
secret right
kids,
there.
if they want to go out, have a good time, I want them to come to me.
Yeah.
I just, I have a close relationship with my kids, and I want their friends to be our friends, so they feel comfortable hanging out with us, and I'll make them food, and um, I want to be the party house where they all come over here, so I know what they're doing at all times.
That is the smartest thing, and have a pool or a jacuzzi or something where they can come and hang out no matter what age they are, and the food, that's the secret right there, and knowing and having their friends know you have an open door. That is, because there's so many parents now that don't want that. They just want them to get out, and so it's wonderful. Just a beautiful thing to hear. That's really nice. I like that. So
So
do you think
another thing is I'm an avid video gamer. I'm a big gamer. So my son and I, we like to game a lot. We have a couple video game machines, and so it's fun for my friends to come over, or not my friends, but his friends to come over, play video games, and do a lot of the things that they can't normally do at home. So
Oh yeah, you and my husband would get along really well because he's also a gamer. We just bought our first arcade game that we have right in the middle of our living room.
really,
Yeah, yeah. They had it at Costco, and he was so I told everyone
uh,
right before Christmas, "You can go and pick one thing," and he found that.
he got an arcade one up.
What's that?
It was in an arcade one up. You know what I'm
Uh,
talking about?
well, it's like an original,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but, it was yeah, it's and then you have those 2. It's amazing. I don't know. I'm
I
not a
have
gamer, but,
I have
and
quite
we're
a.
yeah? That's fun. We're actually going to put on a cruise for grandparents and grandchildren to reconnect, where we teach grandparents how to do video games, specifically Minecraft, and we teach the grandkids how to do board games
That's
because
great.
there's such a disconnect right now with the generations because of the video games, right? And yeah, my husband's going to be leading that.
It's not as difficult as you may think it is, right? If you get them into it, I'm telling you, they'll connect like crazy. I promise you. If you get them to start playing with them online or whatnot,
Yep.
it's it's great.
It is, and it's something they can talk about together, because the kids are talking about mods and spiders and all these things, and it's not that hard. You just have to be willing. I think that's
Right.
the thing,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
totally.
And just because it's not your thing doesn't mean it's not okay. So
Yeah.
that's really neat. All right. So what do you guys like to do as a family? What fun things do you do? Obviously video games, but outside, do you sports or
We like to go, one of the big things that we like to do, go to water parks. Last weekend we were at Kalahari. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but well,
no?
probably not because you live elsewhere. But it's like an indoor water park here in Round Rock, which is about 2.5 hours away. We also like to go to like Schlitterbahn, which is another one, and we go to Typhoon, Texas. So we like to go do things out and about. And my daughters are big actors, right? So they're in a lot of plays. So we go watch them do their plays at the local community center. And my wife will also take them out to plays to go see like Frozen. Let's see, the Mean Girls, right? Because there's a couple plays that are coming in town here soon, and so um, that's about it. Because one of our kids is a 2-year-old, so we're really with a 2-year-old, you're really there's not much because you got to be close to home because
Right.
they still nap. He still naps. So when we go out, we're only out in a couple hours at a time. It's not like we can take off for 12 hours and then come back home. So
Well, speaking of family, you are first generation here, which I did not know until I started doing some research. And can you tell me a little bit about that? That were you born here or were you born there?
yeah, yeah. I was born here right after my parents, my dad and my mother met in Chile, and my dad came here to work on a PhD. My dad was a actually still is because he does an adjunct. He's a professor at U of H, chemical engineering.
Oh, wow.
Um, so he does that. That they moved here for him to finish schooling with the intent of going back to Chile, but I guess just the opportunity was too good. They ended up staying here, and like right after here, I came along, and once you had that baby, that's it,
Yeah.
stuck. So, but we still have some extended family that still live there, so we go there every once in a while back to Chile to visit.
Oh, that's nice.
But yeah, we were there probably just 2-3 years ago visiting.
So, and they speak
Right.
Spanish there, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
just
yeah.
want to make sure. So, do you teach your kids Spanish or not yet?
They're not very willing to learn, just like any kid. So it's been difficult
Yeah.
because they don't want to,
And
and I don't have the, I guess, wherewithal to just pound it into them, and I know I should,
eh,
but
they can learn when they get older, though. So, that's okay. And I know
well,
before you got elected, you were talking about wanting to help the Latino community when you got elected as a judge. Are there some things that you've been able to accomplish in that lane or
um, what have we done? What do we
and if
do?
the answer is no, I can edit this part out, don't
Yeah,
worry.
no, what we've done more so with the courts is we've got a fresh start program where we basically it's the help that we do is just not limited to one portion of the community. It's to everyone. Um, we as a group, the judges and ours, we have done a fresh start program where we go into the community and help with expunctions, and we help with just sealing records basically, and different drives where they have basically little spots where any people who want jobs or want other different services that need it, they can come get it. And throughout the year, we put those on um, to help the community. I think the next one is actually coming up pretty soon, and I can show you a flyer, and I can like, give you a copy of it as well.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Then I can share it with everyone. And along that line, are there any beliefs that you had about being a judge that have changed since you've been on the bench?
Yeah, I think that probably the biggest thing is the theory that I apply with my family. I like to get along with people. I don't like to fight. I don't like the drama. And I like to be everybody's friend. But you can't do that with your kids, right? You can't do that with the court system. If you try to be everybody's friend, then people are going to just take advantage of you. And when I first started out as a judge, I was trying to, just be happy, be everybody's friend, and I think that I got taken advantage of a lot. And you can't do that. Like when you have kids, you have to be the parent. You got to know when to say no. You got to know when to say yes. You can't just say no all the time because that serves no purpose. You have to say yes a lot, but you have to say no as well. And it's the same thing with the judge. I get people that try to take advantage all the time, and and not defendants. I'm talking about attorneys. I'm talking, I, where, for example, I'll have someone, they've never been to court before, right? And they're asking, someone will come up to me asking, hey man, can we just waive the appearance? They don't have to be here, and I don't know anything about the case. I don't know it's a first appearance and they don't tell me. And normally I would say, yeah, sure. I guess we don't need him. And then I find out later, well, what? It's a first appearance. I haven't even heard probable cause. So, whereas, we're required to do probable cause in every case, right? That's the initial setting where we find out what happened. Is there enough evidence to go forward? If there is, are you going to put any conditions on it? Something like that. So as much and as nice as you want to be, you have to be careful. You just can't be. And initially, that was not my view. I wanted to, and
Yeah.
so you can't be friends with everyone. You just got to.
And I think that's a lesson for everybody, and it's a painful one.
You have to know when to be someone's friend and
Yeah.
to really be the adult over that.
Right.
And it's
Because
and it's hard. It's because I don't like to fight with people. I don't like the drama. I don't need it. You know, I have too much as it
I'm
is.
with you. So, so you were talking about probable cause. There are a lot of people that don't understand at all how court works and why people have to go more than once. Can you, in a relatively brief way, explain what are the basic steps for someone who's committed a misdemeanor? They don't just come to court once and it's over, right?
No, right. So let's just take a DWI for example, right? Let's say Jen Hardy gets popped with a DWI, right? So there's evidence in the DWI. For example, there's going to be either a breath test, there'll be a blood test, there'll be field sobriety test, there might be medical records if there was a hospital stay. There might be an accident record if there's a report. There might be a 911 call because someone called 911 on the road to report a drunk driver, for example. That's evidence, right? Evidence is going to point to whose side is correct. There's always two sides to a story, right? So when you go initially into court your first day, you do a hearing to determine, hey, you've been arrested. Have you rightfully or wrongfully been arrested? Is there enough probable cause to go forward? And if there is, right, where's the evidence? Evidence takes time. We don't get it immediately. It takes time to get medical records. It takes time to get body cameras. It takes time to get dash cameras. It takes time, here in Harris County, just to get a 911 tape, it may take 6 months because we're so backed up. I mean, we've 5 million, 4 million people in Harris County. How many people call 911 on a daily basis? So to get evidence takes time. And because of that, you have to do resets on a case. So you may have your initial appearance, you do probable cause, and depending on who's there, they might put conditions on you, and then you go on your merry way. With me and with a lot of us here, we waive appearances because your job is really important. If we forced you, like in the old days, to come to court once a month, a lot of people would lose their jobs because they can't take off that that kind of time. So because of that, I waive appearances so you don't lose. I mean, there's no reason for you to come to court if evidence is not there. So we waive appearances, and as long as you can abide by conditions, if there are any, you might not see me until 6 months, 9 months down the road. Well, 6 months because I don't like cases. But it takes time to get evidence, so that's why cases get reset. Other states do it differently, where they might make you come on a monthly basis, but I don't think it's counterproductive to someone's work schedule if they're working.
I agree. No, that's really
So that's why, and then usually with us at least, there's a cap on how old a case will get. It also serves no purpose for a case to get a year or 2 years old. No, because that person may need help now, not a year down the road when they pick up another 4 cases. So that's why we rein it in as far as how old the case gets, and we will put pressure on others to get the evidence in a timely fashion.
So after probable cause, then what happens next?
They get reset.
Okay.
And depending on how much evidence is out there, depending on what evidence is out there, will depend on the length of and how many resets you get. Right. Some cases, they're very easy. Some, like a trespass case, for example. You have just a statement from a person. You may have a video, so there might not be that much evidence. But in a DWI or an assault case, you may have more evidence. You may need expert testimony, right? It takes time to get that. It takes time it takes time to build a case. And so that's why the more complicated the case, the more time it takes. That's why you also see in felony cases, for example, the cases typically tend to get older because they're more complex. If you have a vehicular homicide case, right, you might need an accident reconstructionist. That takes time. If you have a murder case, you'll have ballistics, you'll have DNA. So by and large, that's why you see felony cases take quite a bit longer than misdemeanor cases.
I never realized that. And
Yeah.
along that line, too, I was going to ask you, sentencing for drug users, not drug dealers, because obviously we want them off the streets, but they can be pretty severe, the sentencing for those. What do you think about that? If somebody's caught with a small enough bit of drugs, and then they can get sentenced for many years in jail. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that there's been a lot of reform with that. Back in the 80s, you used to have that say no to drugs, and the mentality that, if we find you with crack cocaine or the like, you are going to prison for a very long time. And I think that studies came out saying that it did more harm than good, right? And I think that times have changed with that as well. So I don't think that, I definitely know that it's not like it was back in the 80s.
Thank you for joining us for the ultimate Judge Fleischer interview compilation. Who would you like to hear from next? Let me know in the comments.